BRUCAST is back, baby.
This BRUCAST episode is brought to you by the BRUCAST Store. Explore a store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BRUCAST. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Visit now brew-cast.com/store. Link below.
Back with the fire, can't you see the flames? From Deutschland steps comes the BRUCAST name. Voices like thunder breaking all the chains. Unleash the fury like a runaway train.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast recommends to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. BRUCAST also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where I upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BRUCAST on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Links in the description below.
Here we thrive, we survive!
Hey there, BRUCAST fans! Welcome back to another BRUCAST episode. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, comment, like, do all of that jazz that really helps the channel. And by doing so, we're gonna be then running to participate in our next month's giveaway. Yes, you guys keep liking, you guys keep commenting, you guys keep subscribing. We're gonna keep doing the giveaways. We're gonna announce the winner of the giveaway at the end of next month. So that's at the end of July 2025. And the winner gonna win something from the BRUCAST store. It's a surprise you're gonna see. So stay tuned. Like, comment, subscribe. That's about it. All right. Our guest today is Dominika Staniewicz, aka your brain coach. She's a brain health coach, speaker, and award-winning author who uses neuroscience and neuroencoding to help high performers overcome anxiety, ADHD, and burnout. With 20 plus years in HR and leadership, she empowers individuals and teams to unlock peak performance and lasting fulfillment. All right, Dominika, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Gosh, I have so many questions. What caught my attention about you and what you do is like particularly ADHD. I'm not gonna lie. I think everything sounds super interesting, and hopefully we can touch on many subjects. But I would like to start with ADHD, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely. Let's go for it.
All right. So my first question is it true that we all have ADHD now? Why it seems like it?
So, as humans, we love to self-diagnose. And the good news is, no, not everybody has ADHD. And the even better news is that the new studies have shown that not all ADHD requires medications. And we can use methods of neuroplasticity supporting with diet and lifestyle changes that will rewire the brain. And there are also 7 types of ADHD, which most people don't know. And on top of that, the truth is it's about 15% of the population that does have ADHD. And out of that 15%, about, I would say 20 really do need medication because it's severe. We tend to look at lists and go, oh, I have this. This is a very well-known phenomena for psychologists who, when they go through psychological studies and they become psychologists, they find every possible disorder in themselves. Mm-hmm. And when we're not really aware of what's, I wouldn't say normal because that's the wrong word, because we discovered that brains function differently. Now we know, just by the way, that over 55% of brains are neurotypical, not neurotypical. They're
how much?
Very different. 55% are not the typical brain, which means the norm is not having a normal brain, which normal is a very weird word because all of them are normal. Biology and nature created everything as diverse as it can for a reason. And our brains are getting stimulated and getting exposed to things. And let's just say you have this tendency to focus and not break the focus for hours. This could be ADHD, but it could be also that you're so fascinated that you absolutely fall in love with what you're doing and you just lose track of time. And that does not mean you have ADHD. It could mean you could have ADHD, but it doesn't mean. There's so many things. People who are hyperactive. Well, the first thing we're going to look at is how much are you moving? Are you sitting on your butt 9, 10 hours a day in
Probably.
your car and in your studio? There's no way you're not going to be hyperactive. There is energy. There's mitochondrial DNA. There are little, telomeres. There's energy flowing through you. It has to have an outlet. So if you're a kid and we as parents tell your kid, okay, sit, eat, sit, do homework, sit, 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 sit. That is not how the brain develops. That is not how the body develops. And then we go, but he's hyperactive. Well, yeah, because that's the way it's supposed to be. They're supposed to run around. They're supposed to be everywhere. And they're supposed to scream and be excited, not sit in a corner and be polite according to our norms. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about ADHD, and it can be your superpower. It doesn't have to be something that prevents you from succeeding.
Superpower. I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you want to use it as your superpower, first you need to know if you have it or not, right?
Well, the good thing is anything can be your superpower if you harness it correctly and you use it to your advantage and you design your life in a way that it benefits you. But yes, diagnosing it would be great. Now, if you're in the US, you'll get diagnosed no matter what you do. And that is also something worth looking at. In Europe and in US, there are lists of symptoms, and those symptoms, remember, are observable. So they're not really science based, they're observation based. They're the outcome of something. And in US, you need, I believe, 5 symptoms to be diagnosed. In Europe, it's closer to 20. So that's the first difference. If you look at diagnosability in Europe and in the US, it's very different. And our brains are not that different. Second of all, is how severe is it? Is it something that can be managed with lifestyle changes, food? But the question is, have you ever looked at the brain? Because I have. I have looked at scans of people with ADHD, and there's a distinct different pattern in every brain that has ADHD, that different parts of your brain light up or slow down depending on what's happening. Now, if we know which part lights up and slows down, then we can actually, I wouldn't say manipulate that, but influence that with specific neuroplasticity exercises, with a lot of other things. There's just so much about ADHD before we diagnose and jump to a diagnosis. I know pop a pill is easy, but what if you could not pop a pill, change a few things in your life, and reduce the symptoms to a level which is normal? Anxiety is normal.
I'm sorry,
You know,
what is Pop a Pill? What is that?
pop a pill,
Yeah.
meaning go take medication and you're done.
Oh,
The challenge with that is that medication stops working after a while. You need another dose and another dose, and then you get side effects. So one of the things as a brain coach and working with psychiatrists and with people is we recommend first other behavioral changes, food changes, lifestyle changes, and supplements. And with those changes within 6 months, if we don't see a difference, then we look at the brain and then we go, okay, let's scan the brain. Let's see which type of ADHD is it, and then target the medication, because ADHD is not the same for everybody. 7 types, and every type has different behaviors, different challenges, and different gifts.
wow. That's crazy. 7 times. It's the first time I hear that.
Mhm.
When was discovered that ADHD has 7 types?
It's been about 10 years ago, and you can research ADHD types on Dr. Daniel Amen's website. I'm Dr. Amen trained as well. He's a double board certified neuropsychiatrist who believes that before a psychiatrist treats a brain, they need to look at the brain. It's like cardiologist doesn't give you medication before he looks at your heart. There
And
you go.
okay, let me share if this the viewers. Give me a sec. All right, so we are in this website called Smart Kids with High all, I don't know.
Disabilities.
Oh, okay, okay. It's Dr. Arman, seven types of ADHD. Uh, one is classic ADHD. Second is inattentive. Third is overfocused. Fourth is temporal lobe. Number fifth, limbic.
Limbic.
Six, ring of fire. Whoa. This goes hard. Ring of fire. And seven is anxious. Let's read ring of fire for a second. Symptoms: sensitivity to noise, light, touch, periods of mean, nasty behavior, unpredictable behavior, speaking fast, anxiety, and fearfulness. Okay, so that's just one of them. But I assume that like everything, it's kind of like a scale and things overlap. Am I right?
Yes. Number 6 is usually combination of few ADD types and ADHD. Notice that these that he's describing don't have the hyperactivity effect, which is the H in ADD. But this is also how PTSD looks in the brain, a very similar pattern. So if you think about it, you can put in SPECT scan Ring of Fire ADD we can show the audience, if they're watching, how a brain with type 6 would look like. It's called SPECT scan, SP.
Spec scan. I think Google will correct. Spec scan.
There we go. And SPECT scan ADD Ring of Fire. There we go. And I want you to look at this one. Very good.
Wow.
So notice, very good. So what you're looking at is a whole brain, amygdala, limbic system, prefrontal cortex. Everything is overactive. Everything is overactive, which means it's like, if you look at the diamond shape on the side, there's how, go to the left, go down. There you go. So this is a diamond shape, and this is very challenging for the brain because it's overworking. It's working way too hard. The red and the white is overactivity. Blue is no activity or normal activity. So imagine your brain working overtime and being overly stimulated. That's why you're not processing information. And we have new science right now and studies coming out. There are only few, but a lot of people who are called OTs, so occupational therapists, have been working with this. They're called primitive reflexes. There are 13 of those. And they have found over and over, and they're doing studies. There are 4 that are out on PubMed, but there are other ones too. And people are also kind of, bringing in the information that if your primitive reflexes that we all have at the beginning of our life are not integrated, then your brain it creates like this barrier in your brain. So your brain finds another way to connect the parts that it needs to connect, and it's a longer way or it's more challenging. And if we reintegrate those reflexes, very often, about 70% of cases in some studies show that the ADD symptoms disappear. See, because what we see outside is how your brain works. It's not your personality. It is your brain and function of your brain that creates a personality. And this approach changes everything because it's not you, it's your brain.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. It feels so liberating. I knew people in my life who would just hang up the phone right now and curse at you. No, that's the way I am. That's who I am. Like, and I'll say, like, whoa, chill. I would get scared when I would hear like people talking like, but it's not true. Like you're a professional. You're talking about. It's not. That's not the case. It's like all neuroplasticity, right? So I assume that must be very liberating for those with ADHD.
It can be, and it also very often, I would highly suggest not to self-diagnose. And, there's so many different approaches, and I'm not going to criticize them because some people do need medication. But we're in this fast living society that we want just quick change without effort. And the truth is, your brain is your biggest asset. Your brain decides who you are. Your brain decides what job you take. Your brain decides who you fall in love with. Your brain decides what decisions you make and if you're going to make money and how's your business going to work. It's all your brain and how it functions and how healthy it is. So it's insane that we're skipping. I mean, now we're not. We're starting to really explore that part. And I am so excited that there are so many other methods that allow you to try to help your brain before you take the heavy medication, because, no medications without side effects. That to say, supplements also have side effects. So don't overdo on them either. And blah, blah, blah. Let's go back. There are simple things that everybody can do, like do their blood work. See, your blood shows something that it helps produce neurotransmitters, which helps rewire your brain. It helps neuroplasticity to change your brain. And to make that brain work, well, it's kind of like building a house without bricks. If you have no bricks, you can't build a house. If you have no wood, you cannot build a house. If you have no curtains, you cannot shut, the window. And your body kind of produces those materials, but you have to make sure that it is producing it. And especially for people with depression, anxiety, PTSD, overwhelm, and ADHD, there are a few crucial things: hormones, magnesium, potassium, D3, ferritin, and iron. Those 6 things. And the interesting thing is that very often your regular doctor will say, oh, that's fine, you're in the norm. But for the brain, it's not enough. The lower levels are not enough in the norm. So you want to be usually in the between 50th and 70th percentile of the norm. Then your brain is getting enough of nutrients so it can calm down. If you have depressive states, if you have anxiety, if you have high stress levels, first thing you do, you start taking magnesium, you check your potassium, you check your iron and ferritin and D3. Those are the first things you do, because very often that is related. Now, if that doesn't work and you raise those levels, we keep digging, right? But always start with the simplest solution. Sometimes it's not that challenging. And to give an excuse to those people who say that's the way I am, that's the way they are, because they never done the work to find out what can they do to change it. And your brain creates your personality by the age of 7 and then just proves you right over and over. And you have no control over what it decides is important. Literally no control. It is up to us to learn how to kind of look inward and understand our beliefs, behaviors, and choose the change. And then rewire the brain for different behaviors, different thoughts. We now know, according to neuroscience, that you can change at any point in your life. 89, 90, not a problem. You just got to choose to.
I assume it gets harder though, right? Because I know for a fact regarding languages, the younger you are, the easier it is to learn a new language. And I would assume this is just it's just like it applies to everything else in life. That's what I would say. So like, if I cannot learn a language that easily when I'm 70, I'm assuming cannot learn other things. That is, I'm not saying that I cannot learn it, but I guess it's way harder, right?
Okay, let's play around with that sentence. That easily. What is that easily? Because when you're a kid, you're learning a language every day for 8, 9 years before you're fluent. How often as an adult you learn a language every day, 24/7 for 8, 9 years?
Oh, if you just immerse yourself in another culture. Yeah. That's the only, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I would like to go back regarding the quote unquote cure for ADHD. First, you need to look into your blood if you have all the vitamins. And so that's one factor. The other
I
factor,
wouldn't know cure, but managing ADHD in a way that you do not require medication. Word cure is a very strong word and it can be very misleading, but there are ways to optimize your brain. and a way of resolving a lot of brain activity in a way that will not require medication.
I see. So optimization, managing.
Yes.
So
Because if you do have ADHD, like I have epilepsy, I've managed with brain health and with a lot of different approaches to manage my epilepsy so I don't have seizures. But I am epileptic no matter what I do.
oh, that must
But
be.
I don't have the symptoms. I don't have the seizures. I don't have the absence. I don't have the grand mal. So if you actually do have ADHD, it's about optimizing your brain, managing the symptoms in a way that you will not require medication and they will not influence your daily life.
I see. I see. So the first one would be check your blood,
Yes.
check if you're taking all the vitamins. If you named them, you listed them. The,
It's the blood work that we're checking for, and if you have enough nutrients and producing neurotransmitters. So that will be the first step. Another step you do, you go and get assessed for primitive reflexes and see if they have been all integrated. Reintegrating primitive reflexes for a kid is about 6 to 8 weeks. For an adult is 6 to 8 months. And there are specific exercises that are bilateral with stimulation, with red light, photon therapy. There are a lot of things that they do to reintegrate those primitive reflexes. And the truth is, one of the most fascinating things outside of ADHD is that primitive reflexes show up after any traumatic brain injury or like an operation that you had on your brain, and they have to be reintegrated again first for you to gain back control of your life, your movements, your body. So primitive reflexes are more important than we thought. So get those assessed, and if they're not integrated, first reintegrate them, and that is done by specialists. They are in Europe, like in America. Get that if they're integrated, we've checked it off. It's easy, it's non-invasive, it does not require medication. Next, look at your lifestyle. If you are sitting in front of a computer and scrolling on your phone for 6 to 8 hours a day, um, you will have symptoms of some ADHD. It will be definitely showing up.
all the gamers out there, pay attention.
Oh, there's a whole different sector of movement on brain health. It changes your brain and it creates so much anxiety, so much stress, withdrawal, depression. Games are in excessive use are tragic for your brain. So is TV and computer and phone scrolling. But that's a totally different conversation. So I'm not saying don't play games, but it has to be limited to, well, no more than a half an hour a day. But the good thing to reintegrate primitive reflexes, we do use games. So if you like playing games, that might be very specific with very specific stimulation. So that's another thing. Then you look at your lifestyle, how much time you spend in front of a computer, how much do you walk, how much do you exercise, how much do you spend outside in general, socializing and being amongst people.
Dominika, that's not who I am.
I
I
know, I
don't
know.
like to socialize. I don't like to go outside. You need to make an effort, right? If you want to get rid of the manage
And
the
who you are is who you decided to be. That
yes.
that is as simple as that. Unless your hand got ripped off, you have two hands, you're able to use two hands. And I'm not saying it's comfortable. I'm not saying it's going to be easy because we got used to certain things. And again, it's not you who created who you are, it is your brain because of situations you were in, your environment. There are phenomenal studies showing how our brain sucks in information and decides it's important and then makes it you. But what if you could choose what makes you? What if you could change what program your brain chose for you? And you can. Now it takes dedication. It takes understanding the process, the whole 9 yards. But yeah, going outside, being outside. So those are the basic things. And then we're going to look at food. How much of processed food do you eat? And that is important.
All of them.
Obviously, drugs, alcohol, and smoking are out of the question.
Mm.
So those are the basics. Now, if you've made those changes, you adjusted your life, you are exercising, you're doing physical activity, you're using sauna, you're going outside, you're running, doing walks, strength training, you're eating properly, you're getting enough sleep. Oh, yes, I forgot about sleep. Sleep, absolutely crucial. ADHD symptoms and depression, anxiety, and fear and stress symptoms grow exponentially if you sleep under 7 hours. So, when we got all of that done, and you still don't see significant improvement, that's the time, next step, to get a coach, person like me who specializes in this, get your assessments, and start looking at supplements with your doctor or without your doctor, or with a person like me who knows which part of your brain needs stimulation. And then you have a lot of work to do for about 6 to 12 months. And if that doesn't work, that's the time to go to a psychiatrist and then get your brain scanned first to see which ADHD type you have, and then get your medication and go back to a coach to keep working on your lifestyle so you can decrease the amount of medication at one point so it's going to be optimum for you and you won't get on the spiral of getting more and more meds.
I'm gonna be honest. This whole process sounds so healthy, but at the same time, I can see why many people just don't have the patience for it. Just pop a pill, problem solved, right? Like, all your problems are gone in a second. Why would you spend your time and money trying to change your lifestyle, change who you are?
I know it's amazing, but you know what? When you start popping pills, then they have side effects, and then you will need more pills for side effects. And what you're doing is masking, not actually working on the problem.
Could you
So,
name some of the side effects?
oh gosh, just read the labels.
We're talking about Adderall, right? That's the main one.
Also, and Adderall doesn't work for every ADHD
No.
because sometimes you have too much dopamine, sometimes you have not enough dopamine, sometimes you have too much serotonin. There's so many different things that are happening in the brain. And again, it's a lot. It's a lot. And very often Adderall doesn't work and it can make it worse. But again, scan your brain first before you go on medication. Look at the organ you're treating. Find a psychiatrist who believes in looking at your organ. There are plenty of psychiatrists trained by Dr. Daniel Amen who will understand that, and they have the knowledge. And SPECT scans are not only in America, they're all over the world. So it's not like not everybody can read the SPECT scan, but there are plenty of doctors well trained. So that is just the beginning. And then you take, for example, if you get paranoia, then you get another medication for paranoia. Really, so I would prefer to have ADHD than paranoia, to be honest. There's so many things. There's so many things that, kind of stem off of it. And then you're used to and you're relying on an outside force. And again, it's not always you can work on your brain and get it, to work properly without medication. But it's hell worth a try. Imagine being free. It's like I used to smoke, I used to smoke a lot. I used to smoke 2 packs a day
Oh my God.
of red Marlboro.
That sounds a lot.
It was a lot. And I was walking ashtray, although I couldn't smell that because it killed my smell buds. Now I'm like this excellent smell person, which is super annoying. But it would control me. I wouldn't go to the movies because I couldn't smoke. I wouldn't go to the theater because I couldn't smoke. I would be hesitant to fly to a place where I wanted to go because I couldn't smoke. The smoke was controlling my life and deciding on what I would choose. It wasn't me choosing. And with medication, often is the same. It's when I started, taking meds when I was a kid for epilepsy, it was a very long time and I had very high doses, which would influence my stomach, my teeth. I'm still fixing my teeth over and over because it dissolved my bone. I had so many side effects on my stomach and emotional issues from the medication for epilepsy. Yes, I didn't have those seizures, but then there was piling up of different symptoms that I needed to resolve. Now I'm still on medication now, but I'm on such a small dose that I don't feel the side effects. But I practice what I preach. I go for about 3.5 kilometers to 5 miles walk every day. I go biking twice a week. I eat 5 times a day, even small things. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I go to bed every day by 11 o'clock at night. There are exceptions to the rule, New Year's Eve or something very big, but overall, 11 p.m., I'm in bed and I'm getting my sleep. All of those things are small changes that allowed me to live free with minimum medication. I just turned 50. I'm healthier than I ever was, literally.
It's amazing. And that sounds like those are things that everyone can do, right? Like change the time you go to bed, how much you walk per day. Everyone can go just wake up 1 hour earlier, go for a walk, or go to bed 1 hour earlier. Like,
Absolutely.
but you need to want to do it, right?
Yes.
Like,
You need to choose you. And that's the important part. I have my phone has locks on social media.
oh no, I
Instagram.
haven't gone that far yet. It's I'm so addicted to that one.
So, I knew I'm having a problem. I've noticed that I would grab my phone. I'm like, this is not healthy. This is not helping my brain because my anxiety, my procrastination would grow,
Yeah.
my mood swings would grow. I'm like, I don't like that feeling. And one of the simple hacks is to control your social media. My Facebook has 30 minutes a day. My Instagram has 45 minutes a day, and it locks itself, and we're done.
But do you have iPhone?
Yes.
So on iPhone they have this bypass button. Oh, 1 more minute, 15 more minutes. I
It
just
does.
I click on it,
I'm like, do I really need to know? No, I don't.
but the thing is, I'm so addicted that I just click on it without noticing and keep using it. It's insane.
And you can buy yourself on, there is a really cool phone jail that you can
Oh,
buy, and you set a timer. There's no way of bypassing that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
I
a
mean,
good
it
idea.
is crucial for the brain. Anxiety, depression, stress, lack of sleep are all linked. Self worth is linked to using social media. There's so many studies. If you would see what's happening in your brain, you would be like, I really don't want social media. I really don't, because I don't want to feel like this on a daily basis. How do you want to feel in life, right? Do you want to feel vital and excited and joyful, or do you want to feel stressed and down and overwhelmed and anxious all the time?
I mean, it's pretty, the answer is pretty easy, but someone once said on a podcast, I was listening to Joe Rogan, I don't remember, he has so many guests. One of the guests said that if you're smart, you should be able to know how to live a happy life. But it seems that a lot of smart people just don't know how to be happy. And
That's such a yes.
no, let me finish. Let me finish. And he said, if you're, there are ways of making you happy, improving your life, but you need to know how to do it. Control, like, and then he went on to describe all those things that we've been talking about, like managing your lifestyle, managing how much you use social media and stuff. Like a lot of people, they are very rich, they consider themselves to be very smart, but they still fall short on all of those other things. They quote unquote don't have this the intelligence of how to be quote unquote happy. And I honestly would agree. It's like it's those small life hacks that most people just don't seem to prioritize. Don't you think
So,
so?
assumption, I totally disagree.
Okay.
Being smart has nothing to do with knowing how to be happy.
Okay.
Knowledge that you have in your head has nothing to do with quality of your life. I know plenty of very smart people that are miserable, poor and broke. And I know a lot of people who are not smart and they're happy, joyful, and have a phenomenal quality life.
How would you define like intelligence then?
Intelligence has nothing to do with it. It is your perception of the world that creates that. That's first thing. Second of all, your brain type. There are 16 brain types, and every brain type concentrates on different things.
What? 16?
Yeah. And all of them have overactive, underactive, different. There are 12, I believe, 12? 12. They did a study on 40,000 brain scans with the same symptoms outside on depression. All of these people were diagnosed with depression, same symptoms. Guess what happened?
What
They
happened?
thought the brain would look the same. It turns out that no, there are 7 different types of depression. And surprisingly to everybody, in some areas of your brain, it's overactive. It's a UCLA study with Dr. Amen. And everybody went, but how? That's why a lot of SSRIs don't work. That is why we have now found that very often Prozac and other antidepressants are less effective than lifestyle changes and being outside and getting your circadian rhythm and getting your dopamine and your sun and your movement in. There's no way of getting out of depression without a movement. There's so many new studies that are coming out based on the brain. And don't get me wrong, some people will need, to supplement that with the chemical SSRI. But overall, it's very often not necessary. So there's so much science that is practical that we can translate into daily usage. And not to look far, women who are perimenopausal and menopausal, when they have anxiety and depression, they automatically receive antidepressants. We have found that most of them are just having symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, and that's related to hormones. Enough would be enough to give them hormone replacement therapy, and the anxiety and depression will be gone. We don't need an SSRI.
That's the thing. Everything is so interconnected. All the parts of the body, all the elements, and it seems like medicine isn't. You go to a doctor for the eyes, and then you go a doctor for the skin, and they all are very good, and they focus on individual aspects. But that's just my observation, right? It seems like
Because we're complex creatures. That's why first thing you need to do as a grown human and teach your kids is how to recognize what's happening inside of you and trust that. I forgot, by the way, one thing about which is super important. Europe is not very much on board with that one, but it's phenomenal. If you've been diagnosed with dyslexia, dysgraphia, or ADHD, few of the types, check for Arlene syndrome.
what?
Yes, Arlene syndrome. It is life-changing, and your symptoms can go away with just the right type of glasses. There we go, Arlene syndrome. What happens is your visual cortex of your brain doesn't process the light properly. And every brain, there are colors that are kind of creating this overwhelm. And there's a simple test, and after that test gives you indication that you might have it, then you go for a professional assessment. And they create special glasses with special filters for you. And the headaches, dyslexia, overwhelm, the feelings of light sensitivity go away within weeks.
That's like
No medication needed.
some kind of witchery. You just put on those glasses and you're cured. That's
They have to be, no, so there are 7 different colors that they would be used or mixed. So every person then is assessed and they find what works for you. They test on you which one is for you. So it's not like every person puts on the same types of glasses.
Oh, okay.
But your visual cortex, which is 50% of your brain, right? It takes a lot of space. If it's over agitated and it's overworking because of the processing, if you allow it to rest, it will rewire itself. And those symptoms, which are symptoms of your brain being struggling, go away. And then when your brain stops struggling, you stop creating feelings, because feelings are created by the brain, nothing else. So it goes, okay, I don't have to be overwhelmed, right? Because when you have light sensitivity, for example, or letters are dancing in front of you, you're like, what in the world is that? Right? And then you avoid reading, you avoid bright places, you avoid going out during the daylight. There's a whole bunch of things. So your brain is saying, this is distracting me, this is hurting me, I don't want this. So then it shows up in your behavior. So what if you can stop getting, your brain will stop being overstimulated. You will start living your life again. And I know so many cases of kids that have been diagnosed with dyslexia, but when they got the glasses, dyslexia went away. Memory problems went away. Light sensitivity went away. Anxiety went away. Feeling of overwhelm went away. Now, it might not be that, but it really doesn't cost anything to check. And what if you could do that and just get the problem over with?
Yeah, why not? Sounds sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so aren't the as far as I know, the brain and the gut is connected by this vagus nerve, and as far as I understand, uh, some of the emotions or some of the emotions that your brain interprets. I don't know how to say this word. Interprets.
Interprets.
Uh, has also some correlation to your gut, isn't
Oh,
that?
everything is correlated to your gut. That's why one of the things, what did we say at the beginning? What you eat.
But you said that everything's in the brain, so everything is interpreted by the brain. That's what you mean.
Yes, but a lot of things are created in the gut. So there we have actually three brains, like to speak in a very simple language: your heart, your gut, and your brain. And those are kind of the three things that navigate your whole life. And a lot of serotonin and dopamine is created in your gut. They have found also that if your microbiome of your stomach is wrong, and you don't have enough the right bacteria, it can influence how your brain shows up. And there are some correlations in studies with schizophrenia.
Wow.
So what you eat really matters.
What do I
What
eat and get? What gives schizophrenia? Churros, like
no,
French fries? I need to know.
it's not that it's good. Food is not going to give you, but what you eat creates a microbiome, and there is a connection between quality of a microbiome in your gut and how your brain functions. Now, they don't know exactly what it is, but food does influence. We already know that food does influence quality of ADHD symptoms and the severity of it. We already know that what you eat is connected to depression. We already know that high content sugar is reacting in your brain the same area as you would be taking cocaine.
Wow.
So there's so many. Now again, we're on a podcast, right? And you're all invited to search PubMed and NHS information. There's so many studies you can look for. Some have been confirmed, some are at the beginning. So PubMed is a medical website where you have National Institute of Health, and Europe has the same one. And they update articles. They're peer reviewed. They show how the studies were done. What is the data? So really worth looking. If you're looking for information, and granted, you will find things that are contradictory, and that's okay because that's part of science. And I guarantee you that if you will speak with me in 5 years, I will be either retracting some information I gave you now or adding on top of it because we'll have new discoveries.
Can anyone submit studies to PubMed? It's like you don't need to be a doctor.
You can submit it, but it has to be peer reviewed. It has to be done in a proper way. Then it is assessed by a whole huge board of experts. If it's, if there's no conflict of interest, if there's nobody being paid, how big of the study, and then they say either yes, we'll take it in, or they go, no, it's not good enough study. It's not scientifically proven. And funny enough, I was looking for some studies when I was sending some information to somebody. And one of the studies we've been quoting for the last 5 years has been retracted because the way it was described, it wasn't clear that the link was there that they were claiming. So PubMed is very rigorous. I do enjoy using the National Library of Medicine. It's like APA, right? Which is for psychiatry and psychology journals. It's worth looking at, researching, and not every influencer really understands how to read data, but I hope that we all learn how to understand what's written there and read the numbers. And sometimes I go with PubMed articles to my doctors.
Okay, like how that goes up. I cannot imagine this whole situation happening. Like you go to your doctor, hey doc, here's what I found. That's what I have. Like I don't think he
No,
takes
it's
that
not
very
what I
well.
have. But when I say I need, let's say, this test and this, and they go, no, you don't. I'm like, yes, I do. These are the symptoms. This is what it is, and this is a research on it.
How do they feel about
Yes.
it?
Um, they're actually usually very grateful because they work so hard. Very often they don't have time to update their knowledge. One of my favorite doctors, Dr. Mary Claire, who changed the face of perimenopause and menopause in the world, said honestly, and I was really grateful she said that. In perimenopause and menopause care, which starts at age of 35 in some women, and it lasts till the day we die, they had no more than 8 hours in medical school.
Wow, that's
So there's
nothing.
no, that's nothing. And that is half of the world's population living with this for half of their life.
I saw a meme the other day like you like ChatGPT? Just remember that the doctors that you're gonna visit next year or in a few years from now, they're all cheating on class with ChatGPT. Like and that's because some of the doctors they don't study some of the things as well as they should, and
No,
they will
no,
study
no.
even less now with AI.
Give
Did
no, 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 no.
you know?
Let's give credit back to the doctors. Let's not create those theories.
Okay.
Medical school is extremely challenging. Tests are taken by hand. There's no way they can take a test with ChatGPT. Phones are put in a different room. They have to have the knowledge. Now, I want to warn everybody. I love ChatGPT. I love AI. It's helpful. And it lies. I have caught when I write articles and I want to cite studies. Sometimes I cannot find the study I want to cite. And I ask ChatGPT to search PubMed and find me the study I'm talking about. The difference is between me and some other people is that I check what it gives me. It happened 80% of time that it cited a study that had nothing to do with what I was looking for.
80.
Mhm.
That's way too much.
Click and read what it gave you. And then I go, this is not true. This is not saying what I'm looking for. And this is not referring to the subject of the article. Oh, yes, you're right. I'm so sorry. Let me search again. Well, thank you for your apology. See, I've learned to check because it creates stories that are not true. So make sure that if you do, and it's helpful, right? Because to search a database, with billions of studies from all over the world, it's hard, right? And some of it I have it on my computer, but sometimes new studies come and I still have the link, but I haven't found it. I saved it in the wrong place, blah, blah, blah. So I do use chat, but I check every time. 80% of the time gives me things that are absolutely inaccurate, or they say nothing about the subject that I was looking for. And I'm like, okay, no, that doesn't work. One study works. Okay, we can use this one because it does talk about what I want to talk about and it shows proof. So ChatGPT can be helpful and AI can be very helpful. But at the same time, it is only as good as the programmers.
Yeah, that's what they keep saying. Oh, ChatGPT, do you think ChatGPT 4 is good? Wait for ChatGPT 5. It's 10,000 times better than for 4. It's trash. They keep saying that for every version, and I'm starting to believe. And before I was like, no, ChatGPT 4 is amazing. Now I'm starting to believe. I have a very similar experience. I was thinking about it. I also use ChatGPT a lot, but primarily for coding. And the other day, I spent, I think, 1 hour just this back and forth with ChatGPT in one error. And every single time he would spit it out for me saying, oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. I finally found the mistake. The mistake is such, blah, 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 blah. Let me fix it. And then he would fix it. And of course, it wasn't. And I would come back to ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, you're talking nonsense. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, you're right. But now I found the mistake. And we stay like, it didn't work. It's just lying all the time.
It's like a perfect gaslighting employee.
Yes, that's true. Did you see this guy who fell in love with AI, with ChatGPT?
There are a lot of men who are falling in love,
A
or they
lot.
think they're falling in love with artificial intelligence. And although to each his own, I could say that, okay, have you ever heard of experiment like the Skinner box experiment?
No.
Okay. So, full disclosure, if you're vulnerable, if you're a person who gets emotional very easily, do not listen to this next part. It is quite gruesome, as gruesome as Auschwitz-Birkenau was. So what they did during right before World War II, Mr. Skinner, I believe it was before World War II, Mr. Skinner, who is a psychologist and a doctor, took babies and they put them in boxes, and they would be deprived of human touch, human voice, and they were fed every few hours, and they were changed so they had their biological needs met. Within 6 months, all children were dead. We are humans that our brains are designed for connection. We are designed to be with other humans. Our brains, we have found, link brain waves and brain activity with people that are in the room. We have something called mirror neurons, which allow us to feel feelings of other people and program our brains. That's why your environment is so important in your life. Depriving that creates basically atrophy of the brain. The brain starts to shrink and stops function properly. And it's a straight way for depression. You cannot heal the brain without a human connection.
Oh, that's powerful. That's amazing. Yeah, I heard before. You cannot recover alone. I think they say that in AA. That's an AA thing. Alcoholics Anonymous, right? You
Yeah.
cannot recover. They don't go too much into explanations, like the beautiful explanation that you did is that you explained. But yeah, it makes sense. We're social creatures. Yeah.
And everything you are is based on other people you've observed until you choose to change what you saw. So there's a really cool experiment with moms and toddlers, where they took moms and they told them when the child falls, pretend like nothing happened, smile, joke around, and keep moving. So the kid would fall and would automatically look at the mom and wait for the reaction. When moms would smile, go, "Oh, yeah, you fell. Oh my God, this is so cool. Come on, let's go. Let's keep moving," and had a huge smile and joyful voice, and the energy was positive, the kid would go, smile, and move on. Now, the other group of moms was instructed, and it was done on hundreds of kids, was instructed to go into a panic mode with big eyes, high pitched voice, speed up their heartbeat, right, with breathing, and go, oh my God, you fell, your knee, are you okay? Are you going to be okay? And over exaggerate. In
Mm.
every case, those kids would read the expression, go into, the sad face and start crying, because the signal to the brain was, this is dangerous, I'm going to get hurt. And at that time, those are the only signals we're learning. So how moms and dads in your environments reacts in different situations teaches your brain, and they didn't know that when they were raising us, teaches your brain how to react in different situations. And it creates a brain pattern, which is a neural pathway that then when a similar situation shows up, it triggers that neural pathway to react in a certain way. And those kids didn't know. We as babies, as toddlers, don't know how to react to things. The environment, the people we trust and we're connected to teach us what is the proper reaction.
Yeah.
So again,
We're little
who you are,
sponges.
yeah, has nothing to do with who you want to be unless you change those. Because it was literally done by your brain. That's how it develops.
Would you say that with every generation, every human generation, with the passage of years and decades, we as a humanity, as we learn more about all of those things, all what causes trauma, how to prevent trauma, ADHD, how to live a better lifestyle, going to bed on time, sleep more, smoke less, all those things. I I think it's not even a question. I think it's a fact. We just start living longer. Like we start expanding our lifespan, and I can imagine maybe in 100 years from now. What is the lifespan right now? The average is like 80,
I
80.
hate,
It's gonna be 120. Why not?
but it's not because of how we live.
No.
No, it is quality of medicine, unfortunately. I wish I could say something else, but the medical advancement, things that we save now. I mean, in the past, that's why pregnancy was so dangerous. 40% of women died. Kids would die on regular. That's why we had so many kids in the past. And it was normal that a kid died. Nobody would really suffer. It was a child that died. Oh, okay, die. Okay, next kid. Woman would suffer for a period of time, but there was no emotional connection
Oh, that's
like
brutal.
now that we, well, I mean, there was, but it wasn't the way it is now, right?
Yeah.
And heart attack, you would die. Me with seizures in 1400s, I would be burned on the stake. A church would come, do an exorcism because a devil took me and I'm shaking on the floor. And this is the sign of the devil. And they would either stake me or drown me as a witch,
Yeah.
right? And I would be dead. So medicine and knowledge has advanced. We can treat so many things. I mean, no matter how much you hate vaccines, polio is gone when you take a vaccine. We would die of influenza. We would die of tuberculosis that would kill hundreds and thousands of people. This is not a case anymore. We have vaccines towards that. Cancer was not treatable. It is treatable now. There's so many things we can treat. Now, the quality of life does matter, and what we eat, how we function, the fresh air, access to water, access to fruits, all of that does matter. But the funny thing is, when you read stories and historical facts of the wise men, they would preach the same things we're preaching, just without the science. You need sleep, you need to be positive, wish people well. And we had the same issues as we're having now. We as humanity have not changed. I was watching, who was it? Jim Rome from like 40s, the old movie type of black and
Mm.
white. He was literally teaching stuff we still teach, and people go, oh my God, this is amazing. It's an epiphany. Has been around forever.
Humans
But
have
we
been
don't,
humans for a long time. We have not evolved, right? As far as I know, we have been the same for a long time.
yeah, not much.
Yeah, yeah.
The, that's why, those historical, like Bridgerton and all of those, when you look at history, we were loving the same way. We were cheating the same way. We were fighting wars the same way. We had fights and quarrels the same way. We had hostile takeovers. We did everything we're doing now.
Yeah, yeah. I had a history teacher, I think, in high school. Yeah, and the first day of class was like, guys, by the way, my name is Doctor. I don't know his name. John. I forgot his name. Before we learn anything in class, we need to set something straight. Everything that we're gonna study here in history class needs to be studied from one lens, through one perspective only. The people of the past are not dumber than we are. They're exactly like we are. They love the same. He said exactly what he said, and it was the first time that I was hearing that, and this completely changed my perspective because for some reason, and I'm not the only one. For some reason, I think we all grew up assuming unconsciously that all of those humans from the past are just dumber than we are for whatever reason because they didn't have the iPhone. I don't know. But yeah, it's just a crazy assumption.
I think it's a natural thing. So
Yeah,
unknown is always, we assign certain traits to the unknown.
yeah,
We assign people different. Usually, first is assigned stupid. It takes a conscious effort to say different is not stupid, different is not wrong. It's just different. I'm curious, and when you're able to be curious, that's how actually societies change. It's quite fascinating when I listened to a story from my friend from Emirates when he was telling how the culture was changed by one of the kings who decided to take all the young people between age of, I believe, 14 and 25, and everybody mandatory was to spend 3 years abroad in a different country that is not a Muslim country. So what happened, those people went and saw a different lifestyle, and at the beginning there was an opposition. Our way is the only right way. But when your brain sees proof, and that's neuroscience, it goes, okay, nobody's killing anybody, the world is not collapsing, and there's still good people. Okay, so maybe there's something in it. And it switches into exploring, right? And those young people for 3 years would study abroad and bring different customs and ways of doing things. But it wasn't long enough to change them completely, but enough for them to have different experiences and be much more open to different ways of doing the same thing. And that allowed for a culture shift. And the truth is that every time we encounter something we don't know, first fears comes in because your brain is built to protect you. If it cannot recognize, it puts it in a category of unknown. Unknown can be dangerous. So exposure and logical proof and emotional proof allows you to go, your brain goes, oh, there will be a new category. I can dance in a certain way. I remember historically this whole big upright when rock and roll showed up after all ballroom dancing, and assumption was that if they do this they're going to go crazy, and then they're going to all have sex 24/7, which is absolutely
It's the devil's work. It's the devil's work. No, of course it's not. Yeah.
So, and then because they saw this happening and nothing was happening, brain gained proof going, okay, so maybe it's not that dangerous. Maybe I will allow some of it, right? And that's how progress happens. It happens with exposure. Your brain needs proof that it is safe. But until you experience it, it's not going to be safe because it's unknown.
That's so funny that you mentioned that there are rumors, there are conspiracy theories, let's say, that's exactly what Steven Spielberg has been doing for the public with the alien topic for many years. I don't know if I believe it, but if that's the plan, it kind of makes sense. First introduced E.T., right? The extraterrestrial, like they're friendly. And then, I don't know, apparently he's making another movie that's coming out. And I don't know, man. The whole
I
ET
don't
thing.
believe we're the only beings in the universe. That would be statistically impossible.
Yeah.
That out of billions, trillions, quadrillions, or whatever number of planets, there's only one planet that there's life.
It's impossible.
Impossible.
Dominika, sorry. I feel like we sidetracked a little bit. I would like to ask you, it's fun though, it's fun. I'd like to ask you about vaccine. We touched on vaccines for a second there. I'd like to ask you about the COVID vaccine. You mentioned that, for example, with the ADHD meds on their own, there's side effects. Basically, kinda everything that you do in life, there's going to be a consequence, right? Do you know if there has been any study or anything came out since COVID, since Corona, regarding the COVID vaccines? There has been any proven side effects?
So there's always somebody who's going to have side effects. So there's not one, it's like somebody's allergic to strawberries, right? But everybody is not.
Yeah.
So there's always one out. There are studies, and I'm not an expert on vaccines,
Okay.
and it's a very touchy subject in America. But despite what the new CDC, whatever gentleman Mr. is saying, there are plenty of studies showing that COVID vaccines are not in general dangerous to the population. Now, will there be people who have adverse side effects, get a fever? Yes. With every vaccine, there is that risk. There is not one vaccine that's going to be for every person because every biologically body human is different, right? You're allergic to bees, but I'm not allergic to bees.
How do
You're
you
allergic
know? I am.
You're allergic to bees?
I'm not
There you go.
joking. Yeah, I'm not joking. That was crazy. It's the only thing I'm allergic to.
Right. So I'm allergic to rabbits.
Really?
But most people aren't, right? So there isn't a way to prevent, but in general studies, in hundreds and thousands of people, they have shown that there are no adverse side effects of COVID vaccines for the general population. Is it possible that somebody will have an adverse reaction? Yes. But again, I don't deal with vaccines. I'm not a scientist that dealing with vaccines. I read those studies. This is what they said. So I'm repeating, PubMed will show you, please read studies on vaccines that are peer reviewed, COVID vaccines outcomes, and it will bring you some science on very large numbers. They've done those studies in Europe and in America. And despite this lately theory of vaccinations, I mean, the truth is, we used to not have mumps, right? And measles, they were gone, but they're back because we have the movements of people who are choosing not to vaccinate, and that's their every right. But it lowers the immunity, and what happens is, which they don't realize, that very often it could be deadly. And there are kids now dying in Texas, where I live, because they have not been vaccinated for measles, which was eradicated years ago. So, with that being said, I am a fan of rational vaccination. I don't believe in vaccinating yourself for everything, but there's certain things that we have years and years of science on that it's really elongating the lifespan of us humans. But everybody has a right to choose whatever they want based on the information they have. I just highly advise just read the science.
But when it comes to COVID, that's not true though, right? Because it all happened so fast. We did not had years and years of study and research. They just came up with a vaccine as soon as they could and just try to like we, as far as I understand, we the population, the global population, we were like the guinea pigs. We were like the test subjects. There were no time for tests.
You know that covered the 19 number has been around for about 30 years in labs, right?
Oh, I never questioned the number 19. There we go.
So, but again, I'm not an expert, so I don't want to talk about vaccines.
Okay.
That's my belief. I prefer to read science. And if the science proves something else, I will change my opinion, right? Um, the numbers have shown that there has not been an adverse effect. There's some people doing great. Like before I took the vaccination for COVID, I had COVID. And for me, it was a headache and high fever, and that was it. And then I was really weak for about 3 weeks. But I didn't have breathing issues. I didn't have brain fog. I didn't have anything, right? But there were some people, one of my friends, my age, two of my friends, my age, did pass away. Not from COVID per se, but because it lowered the immune system, that all the other illnesses came out. And, you know, those other illnesses that killed them. So it was an immunity issue that COVID basically wiped out the immunity. And again, I'm not an expert on COVID. I'm not an expert on vaccines. These are my personal opinions. Some are based on studies, you know, that I have read. And I trust that, you know, those hundreds thousands of people that have been studied brought the right results. Were there people with adverse effects? For sure. Again, some people are allergic to bees, some people are allergic to rabbits, but most people aren't.
Yeah, I see. I see. Yeah, I still have many questions about it. We don't need to talk further. But for example, I just gonna share my personal experience. I took all three vaccines. I think even more came out after that. Even though I took all three, I was like, I'm secure. I'm safe. I don't need to worry about that. And then out of the blue, I got it. Like 3 years later. Like for me, it doesn't make
How vaccines work?
they need to keep updated, right? You get like a small dose of the virus. The way I understand, you get a small dose of the virus to teach your body how to fight it,
Yes.
right? I got it once, I got it twice, I got it 3 times, and then I got the virus. Like, how fast is this virus mutating, for God's sake?
How often do you know how many variants of flu, which is influenza, yearly comes out? About 16 different versions. And the funny thing is that they decide which one will be the most prominent and create vaccines for flu every year. And every year it's a different vaccine because that's what viruses do to survive. That's their job.
Man, our bodies Oh man, I gave too much credit to our bodies. I would expect that they will learn, how to fight those things at some time. But
Oh,
no,
that one is, but the mutation not so much. It's
oh,
like,
so annoying.
and
Yeah.
again, it's some people will do very well. I took the three vaccines and I didn't take the other ones, and maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't.
Hmm.
I have pretty healthy organisms, so I am assuming it's going to be great. I don't take the flu vaccine. I do very well with flu. But I'm also aware that there is a risk, and heart inflammation is very common after flu, and that's what people die. People don't die per se from flu; they die from the side effects of flu, which impacts your heart, your brain, and other things, and your lungs. So again, there's always a risk, and you get to choose, right? Which risk are you willing to take? And some things are more deadly than others. But with that being said, I'm a brain coach, not a
Yes.
vaccine.
Yes, yes, yes. Let's go back to the brain. I saw today on Instagram that apparently burnout, ADHD, depression, they all stem from the same core problem. I didn't read the whole um, article, but that was the headliner. Like this, they always seem from the same core problem, the same area of the brain, something like that. Do you know what this is all about?
I don't know that theory. It
Mm,
hasn't come across my desk, so I don't know what you're talking about. If you would tell me, what do they believe it all comes from? Because they're all different parts of a brain that are involved, and different brain systems that are involved in these. Um, so
yeah,
if they
apparently.
all come from the brain, if that's the common, then yes.
I don't think that was the what they're. I don't know. I did not read the article, but that would be pretty shitty if they say, "Oh, it's the brain." No, I'm sure they.
It's very possible
Is it
because
possible?
that's how people create headlines, right? The headlines is to
Oh
get a
my god.
clickbait.
Yeah, and now we're talking about it. Yeah, yeah. I got food. Yeah. Of course, I cannot find it on Google or search it. So on one of those.
Again, when you hear claims, I invite everybody, and I do that too. When I hear other experts, claims, influencers, I go into PubMed and other national databases that are recognized, and I search for science. When I have an expert writing and they go, "Oh, science is," I'm like, "Can you please post a link to the study?" And if a study is on 10 people, I will probably not quote that.
Yeah.
And it has not been repeated.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's a lot of journalists out there that would very, very happily do like headlines out of it.
Absolutely. And that's their job, to get you clicking, get you listening.
Yeah, so I cannot find anything on Google. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT, even though I know it lies. I just want to see what it says. Um, so is ADHD, depression, bipolar disorder all comes from the same core problem? Give me your best hypothesis. And he said, you're touching a fascinating and ongoing area of psychiatry and neurological research. While ADHD, depression, bipolar disorder are distinct diagnoses with different symptoms and courses, there's growing evidence that they may share some common underlying biological or psychological mechanisms. And then he says, here's a breakdown of some of the leading hypotheses around a shared core problem. So I'm gonna read the main ones. Dysregulation of neurotransmitter systems. The second one is a genetic overlap. Third is impaired executive function and emotional regulation. And fourth is early developmental disruptions or trauma. Yeah, I what do you think?
So these are very generic and general things.
Yeah.
So neurotransmitters are what runs the brain. Everything in your brain requires neurotransmitters. So yes, he is right. Very generic, but it's not pinpointing anything. Then it said trauma. Yes, trauma rewires the brain, and it can create the diamond pattern, can influence ADHD, PTSD. Absolutely. That is very true. Biological, we were talking about microbiome. Absolutely, it influences because it's all connected, right? But again, it's nothing specific.
Yeah.
It's I wouldn't really hang on it now. Maybe in 10 years we'll have some phenomenal studies. ChatGPT really wants you to be right. And you know what? Somebody taught me doing prompts. If you add always to your prompt, if you disagree or there are other opposing views, please let me know. Because he is designed to always agree with you. And if you really want to kind of have, so would I say there is one underlying cause? I mean, life, yes. Life is underlying cause of everything we're
Life,
experiencing.
the brains, the
Yep.
neurotransmitters, the
Yep.
traumas. Yeah, okay. I mean, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. So I guess I just got clickbait. That's what happened. Yeah.
And that's okay. That I get clickbait too. And oh gosh, I had this clickbait for years in Poland because I'm Polish. We tell mother, daughter, grandma, and doctors tell you when you have allergies, take calcium. So I would hand out calcium like crazy. I would have calcium if I had some allergies, and I was so convinced it's working. And it was because placebo can be stronger than medication. And then I came to US and it's like I was saying, "Oh, take calcium." They're like, "Why do you want to take calcium?" I'm like, "Well, it helps with allergies." I was so convinced. And they go, "No, it does." I'm like, "Yes, it does." So what did I do? PubMed. Does calcium help with allergies? And literally in the studies, it said, for some reason in Eastern Europe, people believe and prescribe calcium for allergies, although there is no medical indication that it works. It literally says that in the studies, which is insane because countries run on calcium for allergies. Now, this brings us to the power of the brain and the power of placebo. If you truly believe something will work and it truly doesn't need a medical intervention, it is very highly possible that it will. That's why when I have my clients that I work with come in and they tell me how amazing this crystal changed their brain waves and whatever else it did, I go, absolutely. I give you 1000% that medically, scientifically, there's absolutely no reason why this would work. But the placebo effect is so strong. There's a really cool study that they did on people who are in the emergency unit after surgery, and they were, almost on their deathbed. And they were working on them, and there were people in rooms with a window out looking the green forest and beautiful sunlight, and there were people without a window. People with a window looking, and it was repeated over and over, at nature got better 30% quicker and left the emergency room. People who believe, one of the right now, and I read this really interesting paper on treating cancer. Key thing is that you believe you will get better. The chances of treatment working are much higher. There's a phenomenal study repeated 3 times on Adderall when they gave students coffee pills and they told them to take the test, and then they said, study for the test, we're giving you Adderall. There is a common belief that Adderall helps you study and memorize things. But all of the students received coffee pills. And the other group of students received the same coffee pills saying, you got coffee pills, this will help you study. Students that took Adderall in their head, they took coffee pills, there was an Adderall, had no ADHD symptoms, so there weren't people who would be needed to be treated with that medication, had 37% better results on tests than students that took, and they only did 12% better. But the both groups took coffee pills. But the belief was so strong that it allowed for them to learn quicker. So placebo effect should not be underestimated.
Is there a logical explanation for it?
Absolutely. So you have something called RAS, reticular activating system, in your brain. It encompasses few parts of your brain. And what happens is you take in 1.2 billion information a day. That's what your brain is processing at given time during the day. Now, 110,000 is something that goes to your subconscious that you react to because your hearing actually sounds that you're not reacting to sound, smells, air, light, everything. And RAS is the system that points your attention to and creates funnels. So it's kind of like with this car, you dream of a car that's red and nobody has a red car. You buy a red car, everybody freaking has a red car.
Yeah.
Where did all the, because your attention was given there. Now, if you truly believe in something, you will find proof that it works. That's how your brain is like ChatGPT. Your brain is like ChatGPT. It is designed to prove you right.
If there's a will, there's a way. Is that
Yes.
related? Yeah, yeah. If you want to
Yes.
make it work, you're gonna make it work. Your brain gonna find ways to make it work.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's so fascinating because I used to think that manifestation and, all of this is woo woo. And then I dove in with what I do in neuroscience, got trained, and I'm like, holy moly, this is not woo. You can literally program your brain. That's why in the morning, thinking of great things that are going to happen to you and being grateful and evoking that emotion, which then goes into your deeper memories and your hippocampus. And it's not only the working memory, becomes your wiring. All of that makes sense. And it's very logical when you start to understand how brain works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. But I don't. I still think a lot of people would just say, no, 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 you're wrong. It's the secret. It's manifestation. And I think whatever worked for you, for it's
Whatever works for you, if you believe that. But the funny thing is, the secret uses neuroscience, not knowing it's using neuroscience.
Really? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, yeah.
Because guess what? Everything is processed by your brain. It's just at that time, they didn't have the science to explain this medically. But for people like me, where I do need science behind what I do. Why does it work? I want to know why. There's some people that will take it at face value, and more power to them. They have less reading to do. But I don't. I want to know why does it work. And when I dove into this and started listening to smart people, like, why is gray matter important? Well, it is important because it builds grit. And how the hell do you build grit? You actually build grit by doing things you don't want to do. And then your gray matter grows and more neurotransmitters show up and then more neural pathways and you become resilient. And literally doing things you don't want to do helps your brain to overcome challenges in the future. So you are not a weak emotionally person. And the only way to do it is doing things you don't feel like doing.
The best days that I have, that I'm like great mood, very social, happy, very good at communicating, and like you name it, everything, like full of energy, are the days that I wake up early and get a cold shower against my will. I don't want to do it, but I know if I do it, I'm gonna have a great day. And I used to do it. I still do it from time to time. And I don't know why it works, but it does. And yeah. And I used to force myself to do it. I should do it from time to time. But yeah,
So that
that
stimulates cortisol production
yeah.
and it wakes up your nervous system. And interesting enough, new studies came out because these studies that, while we started doing cold showers were done on men and it works wonders. But on women, our body reacts differently. And it's actually not recommended for women to do cold showers.
Really? That's so interesting.
I know it's brand new, so they're still studying, but there are more and more evidence showing up. So it's very interesting. And that's one of the things I want to also bring, if people are listening, and I hope you guys are still listening to us, is that most medication has been tested on men and women are not small men. And 1/10 of the budget is testing medication on women because our cycle, hormonal cycle, and changes in our body are cyclical and they're not predictable. With men, hormonal cycle is 24 hours. It's easy to measure. So a lot of medication that works on men and it's claimed, if it doesn't say study done on women, the study was done on men, which means it will work differently on female body than on male body.
Oh my god, you just opened a whole can of worms here.
I
Dominika,
know.
I would like to thank you so much. What a very interesting conversation. Really enjoy getting to know you. And now I would like to ask you if you have any links, any socials that you'd like to share.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me. If you
Thank you.
guys listened to the whole thing, I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to keep the conversation going in any way, shape, or form. I will be happy to post this on my social media. With that being said, everywhere you go, you can find me on Your Brain Coach D. I work on 6 continents. So far, only penguins didn't want to hire me. I'm working on that. So that's the one thing. And the second thing is that, Your Brain Coach D is my website. That's on Instagram. That's on YouTube. That's on LinkedIn. If you want more professional business oriented, please join my LinkedIn newsletter where I talk about neuroscience and how to use it for work. For individuals, you have in Polish, there is neuro_coach D. That's in Polish. And then everything else is in English on Your Brain Coach D. And I would love to invite you guys to read this little book. It's very short. It's for people who get overwhelmed with practical examples how not to get overwhelmed. The cost is the same as cost of coffee. So there's no excuse not to get it. And it has examples, it has stories, it has science, it has exercises. You can buy it on Amazon. There is no need to buy any workbooks, which I didn't produce, by the way. My workbooks are on the little QR code, which are in the book. And it's really, really helpful. And very soon, you will get the chance to take part in a program that's almost done. It's almost created. And it's for people who also get stressed and overwhelmed. And it will be an 8-week program where you will literally rewire your brain, your life, your work, and the way you lead your life. And it will be a program that will be available and promoted on my social media. So it's going to be a hybrid between in-person and self-paced, which I hope you guys will enjoy. And I'm starting a movement, human created, which will add a badge to everybody who uses minimum of AI, creates posts on their own, creates videos on their own. So we know we're talking to a human. It is so important to bring the human connection back, to put emphasis on it, and make sure that we as humans are thriving. And the only way to do that is to be surrounded by amazing people who are creative, smart, and beautifully imperfect.
Wow, that sounds interesting. And man, because like we all go into this AI direction, like you mentioning that you're creating a human movement, it sounds almost rebellious in a good way. It's crazy. It's very interesting. I'm eager to get to learn more about it. All right, Dominika, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you for listening.
All right, everyone, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment to participate on our next month's giveaway. See you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. Check out now the Brewcast store, Explore store, filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with Brewcast. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Buy now at brew-cast.com/store. Again, that's brew-cast.com/store. Link on the description below. Be a Brewcast model and get free stuff. We'd love to see how you and your loved ones enjoy Brewcast. Snap a picture of yourself, your family, your friends, or even your pets wearing Brewcast merch, or watching an episode of the show, and send it to us and become part of Brewcast. We will feature you and your pictures at the end of every episode, just like the ones you're seeing on the screen right now. You can upload your pictures at brew-cast.com/contact or tag us on social media. Alright everyone, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye bye.